I spent my entire life in my brother Derek's shadow. As a software engineer, I finally thought I had found my place in the world, especially with Natalie by my side. Then last Friday, Derek burst into my apartment, alcohol on his breath, and declared to my girlfriend, "He's a weakling. Ditch him tonight, and I'll show you a real man." What destroyed me wasn't his words, but watching Natalie laugh as she threw my belongings into the hallway. I never imagined the two people I trusted most would betray me like that. Before I tell you how I went from being called a weakling to the one they're both desperately trying to reach, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from, and hit subscribe if you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted. Growing up as Derek's younger brother was like living in permanent eclipse. 3 years older, 5 inches taller, and seemingly blessed with every genetic advantage possible. Derek was the golden child of our family. While I was skinny with glasses and preferred books to balls, Derek was captain of 3 sports teams and dated the most popular girls in school. "Why can't you be more like your brother?" became the unofficial family motto. Every dinner conversation revolved around Derek's latest athletic achievement, college scout interest, or social conquest. My academic accomplishments rarely earned more than a passing nod. Our childhood home in suburban Minnesota was a shrine to Derek. Trophies lined the mantel, newspaper clippings about his football prowess covered the refrigerator, and family photos predominantly featured Derek in his various team uniforms. I appeared mostly in the background, usually with my face buried in a book. When Derek received a full athletic scholarship to State University, our parents threw a massive party. When I received a partial academic scholarship to a more prestigious technical institute, my mom made a cake. The contrast could not have been clearer. "Your brother is going places," Dad would say, clapping Derek on the shoulder. "He's got that natural leadership quality people respond to." I found refuge in computers and mathematics fields, where Derek showed zero interest or aptitude. Programming became my sanctuary, a world where logic prevailed over physical dominance. While Derek was learning to perfect his bench press technique, I was teaching myself Python and JavaScript. When he was partying at fraternity houses, I was building my first apps. After college, our paths diverged, but our dynamics remained. Derek leveraged his college sports connections to become a personal trainer to local celebrities and business executives. His Instagram following grew to over 50,000 as he posted daily workouts and nutrition advice. He drove a leased BMW, wore designer clothes, and continued his pattern of dating women who looked like they belonged on magazine covers. Meanwhile, I built a cybersecurity startup from my modest one-bedroom apartment. The work was demanding and complex, with long hours and high stress, but I was making progress. Several small businesses had signed on as clients, and a major tech company was expressing interest in a partnership that could transform my financial situation. 6 months ago, I met Natalie at a coffee shop near my apartment. I was coding at my usual table when she sat across from me, asking if I minded sharing the space since the cafe was crowded. She had striking green eyes, curly auburn hair, and was reading a dog-eared copy of my favorite science fiction novel. "That's my favorite book," I said, surprised at my own boldness in starting a conversation. "Really? Most people think it's too cerebral," she replied with a smile that made me instantly forget whatever code problem I had been working on. We talked for 2 hours about books, hiking trails, and our shared love of Thai food. When she gave me her number, I felt like I had won the lottery. Our first date was at a small art gallery opening, followed by dinner at a hole-in-the-wall restaurant I had discovered. By the third date, I was already falling hard. Natalie was finishing her master's degree in marketing and worked part-time at a local agency. She was smart, ambitious, and seemed to appreciate my quieter nature, at least initially. She called my apartment charmingly cozy instead of small, and listened intently when I explained my business ideas. The first time Natalie met Derek was at a family dinner 1 month into our relationship. I noticed immediately how his charm offensive kicked into high gear, but I didn't think much of it. Derek flirted with everyone. It was as automatic to him as breathing. "Your brother is so charismatic," Natalie said afterward. "You two are so different. It's hard to believe you grew up in the same house." "We took different paths," I replied, trying not to sound defensive. Derek offered Natalie free training sessions at his gym, claiming he wanted to welcome her to the family properly. I encouraged her to accept, thinking it was a genuine gesture of acceptance from my brother. She began training with him twice a week, coming home energized and full of stories about Derek's training methods and the celebrities she spotted at his exclusive gym. Looking back, I should have noticed the warning signs. Natalie began making small comments comparing us. "Derek says you should be more assertive in your business dealings, or Derek thinks you should negotiate harder with that tech company." She started suggesting I join them for training sessions, pointing out that I could really transform my physique if I dedicated myself the way Derek did. As my business negotiations with the tech company intensified, I spent more time working and less time with Natalie. She seemed understanding, but our time together decreased as her training sessions with Derek somehow increased. Still, I trusted both of them completely. Derek was my brother, and despite our differences, I believed family loyalty was sacred. Natalie was the woman I wanted to spend my life with. The week before everything fell apart, I purchased an engagement ring, spending nearly 2 months of income on a diamond I thought would make her eyes light up the way they did when we first met. I kept the ring in my desk drawer, waiting for the right moment after my business deal finalized. The day everything changed, I came home early to prepare a special dinner. The partnership agreement was nearly complete, and I wanted to celebrate with Natalie. As I approached my apartment door, I heard voices inside. Natalie wasn't supposed to be home for hours, and I definitely hadn't given Derek a key. I paused outside my apartment, key in hand, as Derek's unmistakable voice boomed through the door. "You're wasting your time with him, Natalie. What can he offer you besides a mediocre life in a cramped apartment?" I froze, unable to move or breathe. This had to be some kind of misunderstanding or joke. I inserted my key quietly and opened the door. The scene before me was surreal. Derek stood in my living room, one hand holding a beer, the other gesturing wildly. His gym bag was tossed on my couch, and he was wearing the tight-fitting workout clothes that had become his uniform. Natalie sat perched on the arm of my reading chair, her eyes fixed on my brother with an expression I had never seen before. Neither noticed me enter. Derek continued his rant. "He's a weakling. Always has been, always will be. Smart, sure. But is that what you really want? Someone who spends all day staring at a computer screen?" He took a long swig of beer. "Ditch him tonight and I'll show you what a real man can offer." I expected outrage from Natalie. Defensive words, anger, anything that would indicate she was being subjected to this tirade against her will. Instead, she laughed. A light musical laugh that I once found enchanting but now felt like acid in my veins. "Silas," she exclaimed, when she finally noticed me standing in the doorway. There was no guilt in her expression, only mild surprise, as if I had interrupted an ordinary conversation. "What's happening here?" I asked, my voice embarrassingly small. Derek turned, his expression shifting from surprise to something resembling pity mixed with contempt. "Little brother, we were just talking about you," I heard I said, stepping fully into my own apartment, suddenly feeling like an intruder. "Look," Derek said, placing his beer on my coffee table without a coaster. "Someone needed to tell her the truth. You're holding her back." "The truth?" My voice cracked slightly. "Silas," Natalie interjected, standing up and approaching me with a practiced, concerned expression. "We need to talk. Derek and I have been connecting during our training sessions, and we realized there's something real between us." "Something real," I repeated numbly. "And when were you planning to tell me?" "I was going to tell you this weekend," she said, not meeting my eyes. But Derek thought it would be better to just be honest right away. "Honest?" I echoed, feeling like a broken record. "By breaking into my apartment, I gave him the key," Natalie admitted. "We were going to pack some of my things." The betrayal hit me in waves. First, the fact that she had given my brother a key without telling me. Second, that they had been connecting behind my back. Third, that they were planning this conversation in my home, surrounded by my belongings in a space I had created. "How long?" I managed to ask. "Does it matter?" Derek replied with a dismissive wave. "The point is, it's been obvious to everyone but you that you two aren't meant for each other. She needs someone who can match her energy, her ambition. Someone like you," I said flatly. "Exactly." Derek smiled, missing or ignoring my sarcasm. "Look at yourself, Silas. You're so contained, so predictable. When's the last time you did anything exciting, anything risky? You've always played it safe." "I'm building a company." I countered, my anger finally beginning to rise. "I'm negotiating a partnership that could—" "Nobody cares about your little computer project," Derek interrupted. "In the real world, people respect strength, presence, things you've never had." "He's right, Silas," Natalie said, her voice taking on that gentle tone people use when breaking bad news. "You're so focused on work all the time. Derek knows how to live in the moment. He's passionate. And frankly," she paused, glancing at Derek, "he's exciting in ways you're not." The implication was clear, and it cut deeper than I thought possible. I stepped toward Derek, rage temporarily overcoming my usual conflict avoidance. "You're my brother," I said through clenched teeth. "How could you do this?" Derek squared his shoulders, standing to his full 6'3" height, physically intimidating in a way I could never match at my modest 5'10". "I'm doing you a favor," he said. "She would have left eventually. This way you don't waste any more time." I turned to Natalie, searching for any sign of the woman I thought I knew. "And you agree with this?" Instead of answering, she walked to the bedroom, our bedroom, and emerged with an armful of my clothes. Without a word, she marched past me and threw them into the hallway outside my apartment. "What are you doing?" I asked, stunned by the sudden escalation. "We need space," she said simply. "I think you should stay somewhere else for a few days while we figure things out." "You're throwing me out of my own apartment." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Temporarily," she said, returning to the bedroom for more of my belongings. Derek laughed, a deep, satisfied sound that I knew would haunt me. "See what I mean? A real man wouldn't let this happen. A real man would stand his ground." As if on cue, my phone rang. I glanced at the screen and saw it was Michael Chen, the tech company executive I had been negotiating with for weeks. The partnership call I had been waiting for was happening at the exact moment my personal life was imploding. "I need to take this," I said automatically. "Of course you do," Derek sneered. "Business first, always." I stepped into the hallway, surrounded by my scattered clothing, and answered the call. Michael was excited, explaining that the board had approved our partnership with even better terms than initially discussed. It was the career breakthrough I had been working toward for years. As he talked about stock options and implementation timelines, I watched through the open door as Natalie continued emptying my closet, occasionally whispering and laughing with my brother. When the call ended, I stood there holding my phone's success in my professional life, contrasting cruelly with the collapse of my personal one. I had two options: fight to reclaim my apartment and dignity, likely resulting in a physical confrontation I couldn't win, or retreat and regroup. I chose the latter. I gathered what I could carry, including my laptop bag with my company information, and left without another word. The last image before I closed the door was Derek putting his arm around Natalie's waist, both of them watching me leave, with expressions caught between pity and amusement. I checked into a hotel 3 blocks away, requested a room on a high floor, and sat on the edge of the bed for hours, alternating between numbness and waves of pain. So intense they were almost physical. The betrayal by my brother hurt the most. Family was supposed to be the one constant, the one relationship that transcended all others. As midnight approached, I reached into my pocket and felt the small velvet box containing the engagement ring I had purchased just days earlier. The irony was unbearable. While I had been planning a future with Natalie, she had been planning her exit with my brother. After a sleepless night staring at the hotel ceiling, I made a decision. The hurt and humiliation had crystallized into something harder, more focused. Derek and Natalie thought I was weak because I didn't make scenes or throw punches. They mistook my composure for weakness, my caution for cowardice. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The engagement ring was my first order of business. I returned it the next morning, receiving a substantial refund that I immediately used to secure a month's rent on a small studio apartment across town. I needed a base of operations, somewhere they couldn't find me while I executed what came next. I threw myself into finalizing the tech partnership, channeling my emotional turmoil into negotiating even better terms. Michael seemed impressed by my sudden intensity and assertiveness in our final meetings. The agreement was signed 3 days after the confrontation in my apartment, giving me both substantial immediate payment and equity in the parent company. With financial security established, I turned my attention to Derek. My brother had always been reckless, cutting corners when he thought no one was looking. As a personal trainer to wealthy clients, his reputation was everything, and I knew exactly how to dismantle it without ever confronting him directly. First, I set up anonymous email accounts and secure messaging platforms that couldn't be traced back to me. Then, I began methodically gathering information. I hadn't specialized in cybersecurity for nothing, and while I never accessed anything illegally, there were plenty of publicly available traces of Derek's activities online. Through social media analysis and careful communication with former clients who had left negative reviews, I discovered Derek had been selling unlabeled supplement blends to clients' products that contained substances banned by most athletic organizations. He had also been falsifying his certification credentials, claiming specialized training he had never completed. I compiled this information into detailed reports, complete with screenshots, timestamps, and testimonials from dissatisfied former clients who were eager to share their experiences once promised anonymity. Then I sent these packages to the fitness licensing board, the gym where he worked, and several key fitness influencers who prided themselves on industry integrity. The response was swift. The licensing board opened an immediate investigation. The gym placed Derek on unpaid leave pending the outcome. Several major clients publicly distanced themselves from him on social media. But I wasn't finished. Using the capital from my new partnership, I launched a competing fitness training service, hiring certified trainers with impeccable credentials and offering rates significantly lower than the premium prices Derek charged. My tech background allowed me to create a superior booking and tracking app that quickly gained positive attention in the local fitness community. Through careful social engineering, I ensured that Natalie's involvement in Derek's supplement scheme was documented. She had helped package and market the products, sending texts to potential customers that made claims about performance enhancement that walked the line of legality. These messages were now part of the evidence package. While Derek's professional life was imploding, mine was soaring. The tech partnership led to a feature article in the local business journal, highlighting my company's innovative approach to cybersecurity for small businesses. My new office in the downtown business district was a far cry from the cramped apartment I had been ejected from. I made no direct contact with either Derek or Natalie during this time, but through mutual acquaintances I heard the fallout was significant. Derek had lost his position at the gym entirely when the licensing board suspended his certification pending a full hearing. Most of his high-profile clients had moved on, unwilling to risk their own reputations by association. The financial impact was immediate. Derek's lifestyle had always been expensive and leveraged on future earnings. His BMW was repossessed within 2 months. He had to downgrade from his luxury apartment to a shared living situation with another trainer whose career was similarly in decline. Natalie, who had expected to ascend socially through her relationship with Derek, found herself instead associated with a failing business and tarnished reputation. She had quit her part-time marketing job to help Derek full-time, a decision that looked increasingly unwise as his client base evaporated. The first text came 3 months after the confrontation in my apartment. "Silas, we need to talk. Please." I didn't respond. More messages followed over the coming weeks, increasing in urgency as their situation deteriorated. "This is all a misunderstanding. We never meant to hurt you. We need your help." I maintained complete silence. The only communication was through my lawyer, who handled the formal return of my possessions from the apartment and the breaking of the lease. The legal documents were the only acknowledgement I gave that they existed at all. 6 months passed. My business continued to grow, expanding into new offices and hiring additional staff. I had established a regular fitness routine of my own, with a reputable trainer, not for anyone else's approval but for my own health and confidence. Weekly therapy sessions helped me process the betrayal and recognize that their actions reflected their character flaws, not my worth. Then came the day I had 21 missed calls and multiple frantic texts from Natalie. "Please answer. I made the biggest mistake of my life. Derek left. He's gone back to Minnesota. I have nowhere to go. Please, Silas, just talk to me." I read the messages once, then blocked her number permanently. The transformation in my life over the past year has been remarkable, not just externally but internally. The betrayal that once felt like it would destroy me instead became the catalyst for my greatest period of growth. My company now occupies the entire 10th floor of a downtown office building with 28 employees and a client list that includes several Fortune 500 companies. The partnership that was nearly finalized on that fateful day has evolved into a full acquisition offer which would make me a multimillionaire several times over if I choose to accept. Physical changes accompanied my professional success. Regular workouts with my trainer James have transformed my once slender frame into something stronger and more defined. Not because I felt inadequate, but because the discipline and endorphins helped heal my mind as much as strengthen my body. Dr. Marshall, my therapist, helped me understand that Derek's lifelong belittling was rooted in his own insecurities. "People who are truly confident don't need to tear others down," he explained during one session. "Your brother's behavior suggests he always feared you would eventually outshine him." Those words proved prophetic. Derek's professional collapse was complete. After losing his certification and reputation in our city, he retreated to our parents' home in Minnesota. According to our mother's carefully worded updates, he was regrouping while working at a chain gym for minimum wage plus commission. His social media accounts, once showcasing a life of luxury and influence, went dormant. Natalie's fall was similarly dramatic. After Derek abandoned her, leaving her responsible for the lease she couldn't afford, she cycled through several roommate situations and temporary jobs. Her degree remained unfinished, her student loans mounting. The 21 missed calls came after she received an eviction notice from her latest apartment. I never responded to her increasing desperation, but I did monitor the situation through mutual connections. Not out of continued anger, but to ensure I maintained appropriate boundaries. When I heard she was considering moving back to her hometown in Oregon, I felt nothing but relief that this chapter was truly closing. Last month, I experienced the final scene of this story at Alessio's, an exclusive restaurant downtown, where I was having dinner with my investment team and Lauren, a graphic designer I had been seeing casually for a few weeks. Lauren was refreshingly straightforward and independent, making it clear she was interested in me for who I was now, not what I could provide. We were midway through our main course when I noticed a commotion at the entrance. Derek and Natalie stood in the lobby, him in what appeared to be his only remaining nice shirt, her clutching a small purse with white knuckles. They were arguing with the maitre d', who was explaining that without a reservation they couldn't be accommodated. They hadn't seen me yet. I had a choice: hide, confront, or acknowledge, and move on. I chose the latter. "Everything okay?" Lauren asked, noticing my distraction. "Yes," I replied. "Just recognize someone." "Excuse me for a moment." I approached the hostess stand calmly, making eye contact with both Derek and Natalie as I approached. Their expressions shifted from frustration to shock. "Silas," Natalie breathed, taking a step toward me. I nodded politely but maintained distance. "Derek." "Natalie." "Bro," Derek said, his voice lacking its usual confident boom. "We've been trying to reach you." "I'm aware," I replied. "I have nothing to say to either of you." "Please," Natalie said, her eyes welling with tears that once would have moved me. We made a terrible mistake. Derek and I. It did not work out. We were wrong about everything. So, that's unfortunate for you both, I said, meaning it sincerely but without sympathy. I hope you find what you're looking for elsewhere. Can we talk? Derek asked, a hint of his old demanding tone creeping in. Just for a few minutes, no, I said simply. I have investors waiting. And a date. I turned and walked back to my table, feeling their eyes on me but no longer caring what they thought. Lauren smiled as I rejoined the group, and the conversation continued as if nothing had happened. When I glanced back toward the entrance a few minutes later, they were gone. That moment represented the final closure I needed. I realized I no longer hated them or wished them ill. Their actions had unwittingly given me the push I needed to become the person I was capable of being all along. The pain they caused had been transformed into strength, resilience, and success beyond what any of us could have imagined. The true revelation was understanding that real strength has nothing to do with physical intimidation or social dominance. Real strength lies in integrity, resilience, and the courage to value yourself even when others do not. My brother had called me a weakling, but he was the one who crumbled when faced with consequences. Natalie had thought I was the safe choice she was settling for, only to discover that stability came from character, not circumstance. I now approach relationships differently, including my growing connection with Lauren. We are taking things slowly, building on mutual respect and genuine interest, rather than dependency or status. I no longer worry about being good enough, because I recognize my own value, independent of others' validation. Looking back at that painful night when I was thrown out of my own apartment, I can now see it as the best thing that could have happened to me. It forced me to confront lifelong patterns of accepting less than I deserved and believing others' assessments of my worth. In trying to break me, Derek and Natalie inadvertently set me free. Have you ever had someone who dismissed or betrayed you come crawling back after you succeeded? What did you do? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story of turning betrayal into triumph resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more real-life experiences. Consider sharing this video with someone who might be struggling with betrayal or self-doubt, as sometimes we all need a reminder that being underestimated can become your greatest advantage. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember that your worth is never determined by those who fail to see it.